Hello viewers, welcome to the Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this section, we regularly take editorials from various newspapers and news portals for a better understanding of various issues happening in India and around the globe. In this section, we first try to link the editorial with our UPSC syllabus, then we go analytical in order to understand some key points and at last some important concepts. Dear viewers, we truly hope that you like this initiative taken by Drishti IAS and your feedbacks are important for us. So kindly feel free to give your important feedbacks in the comment section. So without any further delay, let's commence our session.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
Today's editorial is taken from the Financial Express published on 26th of November 2020. The title of today's editorial is Need New Laws for Real-Time Tax Dispute Resolution. If we try to summarize today's editorial, we can say that if relief via mediation is to be questioned later, as is likely, no taxman is going to embrace the finance minister's new plan. If we try to link today's editorial with our UPSC syllabus, we can link it with GS Paper 3 and sections that include Indian economy, issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, employment, inclusive growth, issues arising from it, and government budgeting. Some key points from today's editorial. After coming out with the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme to try and resolve a large number of direct tax disputes, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman told a CII audience that she was looking at creating a mechanism where on a real-time basis, there can be a process of mediation to ensure tax differences don't become tax disputes. That is a laudable objective, and should it work, it will go a long way in improving India's image in the eyes of investors, both local as well as foreign. Now we all know that the Union Cabinet has approved an amendment to the Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 in order to widen its scope to cover litigation pending in various DRTs, that is the Debt Recovery Tribunals. The amendment also includes certain search and seizure cases where the recovery is up to 5 crore. Therefore, the bill in current form allows taxpayers to settle cases pending before the Commissioner Appeal, Income Tax Appellate Tribunals, Debt Recovery Tribunal, High Courts and Supreme Court. It should be noted that Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 is similar to the Sabka Vishwas scheme, which was brought in to reduce litigation in indirect taxes in the year 2019. It resulted in settling over 1,89,000 cases. Under the Sabka Vishwas scheme, the government expected to raise around 39,500 crore. However, after the closure of the amnesty window in January 2020, applications in relation to taxes worth 90,000 crore were received. This shows the success of the scheme. Similarly, the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme is also an objective with reference to the direct tax dispute, and it can be said that it's a very genuine program and it has got a laudable objective, and if it works properly, then definitely India's image will improve in eyes of both the local as well as the foreign investors. Achieving what the finance minister wants will require not just a very different mindset on the part of the taxman, and for the direct tax board to be a lot more proactive. It will probably need legislative changes as well. We all know that definitely if we want this initiative to be successful, there is a requirement for legislative changes as well. Now, before we move ahead, it is quite important for us to actually see and understand what exactly the direct and the indirect taxes are. Now, as we all know, India has a well-developed tax structure with clearly demarcated authority between the central and state governments as well as local bodies. If we talk about the categorization, the categories are two. Number one is direct taxes. Direct taxes are those whose burden directly falls on the taxpayer. These are those taxes which cannot be transferred on the others by the taxpayer. Example, they are like income tax, wealth tax, corporation tax, etc. On the other hand, we have indirect taxes. These are those taxes which can be transferred on the others by the taxpayers. I'll give you an example. If the central government increase the rate of service tax on different services, then sellers pass on this increment on the final consumer of the services. Now, some of the examples of the indirect taxes can be sales tax, the central sales tax, CST, VAT, service tax, etc. Now, if we talk about the present scenario, in the last 5 years for which data is available to put this in perspective, disputed direct tax claims have risen 2 times, from 4.1 lakh crore in financial year 2014 to 8 lakh crore in financial year 19. While actual direct tax collections have risen also by almost 1.8 times, that means almost close to 2 times, from 6.3 lakh crores to 11.4 lakh crores. It should be noted that disputes with reference to direct taxes, they have increased almost 2 times. That is, in financial year 2014, the dispute with reference to the direct taxes were amounting somewhat around 4.1 lakh crores. Whereas in 2019, this figure has almost doubled up to 8 lakh crores in 2019. Same can be said with reference to the tax collection, direct tax collection. They have also grown by almost 2 times, to be precise 1.8 times, from 6.3 lakh crores in financial year 2014 to 11.4 lakh crores in financial year 2019. And keep in mind that with the taxman losing a lot more cases in the tribunal and courts, a large share of the disputed tax claims are probably not kosher. Now, we all know that many times the taxmen, when they are fighting the cases for reference to the direct tax dispute, they are losing it in many tribunals and courts. Okay? So it should be noted, this point should be noted here. Worse, for all the talk of trying to make sure the taxman is non-adversarial, the disputed direct taxes were of 1-2 year vintage. Also, the initiative that was taken, it made sure that the taxman is non-adversarial. Fixing this this problem that we are talking about, it actually requires 2 very important initiatives. Number 1, there has to be some penalty against taxmen who make arbitrary demands. Now, it should be noted that there has to be some kind of legal action or financial action against the taxman who is making random demands with reference to the disputes. Also, the second one has to be more important. The tax board needs to estimate tax demands where the tax implications are large and to scrap them if they appear unreasonable, and to issue necessary clarifications to field officials. Now, the scheme that we are talking about, okay, the Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020, what exactly it is, how exactly it's gonna work. So we'll just talk about that. First of all, what exactly is the objective of this bill? Now, this bill will provide a mechanism for a resolution of pending tax disputes related to direct taxes such as income tax, corporate tax in simple and a speedy manner. Also, another objective is to reduce the litigation. Now, according to the Finance Ministry, right now there are almost 4.8 lakh cases pending with reference to direct tax, and it actually amounts to almost 9 lakh crores. Through this scheme, the government wants to recover this money in a swift and simple way. Also, the government is witnessing a big shortfall in revenues, especially tax revenues. Hence, increasing revenues is one of the priorities of the government, and the direct tax collections have been lower than their budget targets due to the overall economic slowdown, and also a cut in the corporate tax rate that happened in September 2019. Now, what exactly will be the mechanism? What mechanism will be followed? It is to be noted here. In case of payment of tax, a taxpayer would be required to pay only the amount of the disputed tax and will get complete waiver from penalty, interest, prosecution, provided he or she pays the amount of disputed tax by March 31st, 2020. See, very important here to understand that the people who are having the dispute, they will be provided with this facility that no penalty, no late fees, no interest will be charged over the disputed amount. The person has to do what? Just pay the disputed tax. That's it. And the date for that was given March 31st, 2020. However, if the tax arrears related to disputed interest or penalty, if the tax arrears related to disputed interest or penalty only, then 25% of disputed penalty or interest will have to be paid. Now, those who want to avail this scheme after March 31st, 2020, they have to pay some additional amount. Now, the scheme was kept open till June 30, 2020. Also, there will be some immunities, that will be provided to the appellant. Now, once a dispute is resolved, that means when the dispute is sorted out between the party and the government, the designated authority cannot levy any interest or penalty in relation to that dispute. Now, if once the case is sorted out, is complete, is finished, then no kind of penalty or interest will be imposed with reference to that disputed amount. Further, no appellate forum can make a decision in relation to the matter of dispute once it is resolved. That means it will be considered as full and final. No other authority, no other appellate forum can take that case once it is completely sorted. However, if an appellant provides false information or violates the Income Tax Act of 1961, then case of disputes can definitely be revived. This is something that is to be known here. So this was with something the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, and how the government has to work accordingly if they really want this entire disputed amount to their treasury. Has the board done this in the case of the MAT tax? Now again, MAT tax, important to see what exactly MAT tax is. It is important that we should know MAT tax, what exactly it is. Now, first of all, the full form of MAT tax. Now, MAT means minimum alternate tax. Now, what exactly minimum alternate tax is? Now, MAT is a provision in direct tax laws to limit tax exemptions availed by the companies so that they pay at least a minimum amount of corporate tax to the government. Now, how and when the minimum alternate tax is applicable? Now, the MAT tax is applied when the income of the person which is to be taxed is found to be less than 15.5% plus surcharge and cess if applicable of the book profit under the Companies Act of 2013. Earlier, MAT was applied to the companies, but gradually the same now being applicable to all other taxpayers in the name of AMT, that is the alternate minimum tax. So this was with reference to all this information and what exactly have been the mistakes that were carried out in the past, and if government wants this to be successful, then such things are to be taken into consideration. The way ahead, the government will probably also need to ensure the mediation panel has enough legal cover to do its job. It is quite important for the governments to understand that if they really want to ensure the success of this bill, the scheme, and the involvement of the mediation panel, then it is quite important that the mediation panel should have some legal cover so that they can do their job properly. One of the reasons why the taxmen appeal most cases even after losing them at various levels is the fear that the CAG will pass strictures, or worse, that the CBI can come knocking on his or her door and allege favoritism. This is one of the most important things that are to be taken into consideration here. If the group does not get this cover, if the mediation panel is not having that particular legal cover that we are talking about, the Prevention of Corruption Act has been amended several times, but it is not clear if the protection is absolute. It is unlikely tax officials Manning, nominated by the government of India, gave an award in favor of Vodafone. The government is unwilling to accept it for fear that it will be accused of letting Vodafone off lightly. Now, we all know that Vodafone recently, in the month of September, won a case that was pending since 2007. They have won a case against the government of India. Okay? So, if the government is hesitant to take a call, how are tax officials or a mediation panel going to take that call? It is quite clear. Now, if government itself is unwilling to accept things, okay, then how can the government expect the tax officials or the mediation panel to take a particular call against one taxman or one group of company? So, very importantly, it is a much needed observation from the past that whatever mediation panel that will be associated with the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, they definitely have some legal authorities with them if the government really wants the scheme to be successful. So viewers, this was with today's editorial analysis. Now the question that can be framed with reference to today's editorial is: critically evaluate the status of tax administration in India. What measures would you suggest to make tax administration citizen friendly? Discuss. So viewers, I hope you liked today's editorial analysis. Thank you very much.